Man, what am I doing here on a Tuesday night, man? What am I doing here on a Tuesday night, man? I look in my phone and my notifications show up, and Jesse's got me booked for an NXT review at the venue. I don't know why Jesse's booking me on Tuesday nights, man. Oh yeah, if you guys didn't know, Jesse is my my schedule maker. He's my personal secretary. Not only is he my personal secretary, he's my bar back, he's a co-chef in the kitchen. What am I doing on a Tuesday night? NXT tonight, man. Not a bad show. I mainly tuned in for Grayson Waller and HBK tonight, to be quite honest with you. That's all I did. That's all I really cared about for the entire 2 hours, to see where they go with that. I was not disappointed, as we got the return of Johnny Gargano. Dragon Lee made his NXT debut tonight, not in ring, but he got the takeover rub tonight on NXT. Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes make their Stand and Deliver match official, and Shawn Michaels with the callback once again with Roxanne Perez in her match with Meiko Satomura. We'll talk about that and everything else that happened on tonight's show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to the OTS venue. I got my cold beverage. Hopefully you guys got yours as well. And I got one question for you before we get the hell out of here. What the fuck are you guys drinking? I'll see you over there.
Why has Triple H been so successful? Why is Triple H running WWE better than Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard on Monday and Friday night? Long-term booking.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is your NXT post show for March 7th, 2023. I'm your host, JD from New York, as always, coming to you live from the OTS venue. Thank you guys so very much for joining me on your Tuesday. I know it's very weird. Very weird to be on the live stream in the venue on a Tuesday night, but thank you guys for joining me on your Tuesday nights, wherever you may be. I see a couple of people in the live stream chat already asking, is JD usually on here on Tuesdays? The answer is no. The answer is no. I do not enjoy the current version of NXT. I am an old school black and gold, ride or die type of guy, or ride and die type of guy. I do not find the NXT that we get on Tuesday nights all that enjoyable. The only reason why I'm on here is A, because we have a kind of roadblock, I would say, a little mini pay-per-view like show on their road to WrestleMania, on their road to Stand and Deliver. And I was very curious with all the rumors going around with Johnny Gargano tonight showing up. We got our answer. Very curious to know with all the rumor before tonight if Shawn Michaels is going to come out of retirement. And Shawn Michaels is going to get back in the ring with Grayson Waller at Stand and Deliver. I was hoping, I was praying, I kept my fingers crossed that it would not happen, and it did not happen. We are not getting Shawn Michaels back in the ring, thank God, against Grayson Waller. I think that would be A, bad. B, nobody wants to see old man Shawn Michaels, old man and bald Shawn Michaels in the ring. No. Nobody cares to see that. I think that's also a little bit of desperation on WWE's behalf to try and get some notoriety and some spotlight on the NXT brand, which would basically be them moving away from everything that they are to focus on Shawn Michaels. You know, him coming out of retirement for Stand and Deliver would basically overshadow everything on that show, and I'm glad that it wasn't the case tonight, as Johnny Gargano made his NXT return, and it gives him something to do WrestleMania weekend as he seeks closure. And we have a true full circle moment here with Johnny Gargano getting revenge on Grayson Waller. And that match is now official for NXT Stand and Deliver. We're going to go over that segment. I thought that segment was very well done. And I didn't really care about any of it coming in because I don't really feel like it was very natural. I felt like it was very forced. I felt like they were trying to really try hard to manufacture some sort of grief, some sort of animosity between Grayson Waller and Shawn Michaels, and I just wasn't buying it because it just literally came out of nowhere, and it happened legitimately on the Vengeance Day post-show media scrum with Shawn Michaels where Grayson Waller interrupted him and kind of barged in his office on the night of Vengeance Day while he was live with the media, live streaming on YouTube, and he kind of made a scene. I just felt like it was very manufactured. I felt like they were trying to go for something a little bit more balls to the wall, a little bit more real, and it never really resonated with me at all. But with Johnny Gargano coming back, I think it really kind of swung the tide into making this feel really good, and Johnny and Grayson Waller should be a great match at the pay-per-view WrestleMania weekend. So we'll go over that, and we'll go over what was actually said between the two here on the post-show. The other thing that I really, really liked about tonight's show, and I'm also very excited for, is Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes. I think Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes being the main event of Stand and Deliver is a true passing of the torch moment for the entire brand. And I may not be here every week. I may not be here live on Tuesday. There are other content creators that have done NXT live streams religiously every Tuesday. I just can't bring myself to do it because I just don't enjoy talking about the show. There's not a lot that I am personally invested in when it comes to NXT. When we talked about the black and gold, I mean up and down every single week. I was in front of my TV with the WWE Network on at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays, and I was religiously there every single week. I was legitimately one of the only ones. I was maybe one of two people that were doing NXT post shows for the black and gold brand on YouTube. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was invested in everything that Triple H was doing there. I never felt that way with the 2.0 brand, and I don't feel that way with the current brand that we see now. There are only a handful of people that I actually legitimately enjoy watching, legitimately care about on this show. Grayson Waller is one of them. Tony D'Angelo's another, right? We got Roxanne Perez, who's doing great things in the women's division. She's one of them for sure. We got Carmelo Hayes, Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes, two of the guys that I've been very interested in and invested in during the entire NXT rebrand. And they're being put in the ring together. And these were the two names that we found out were going to be leading the brand from day one. As soon as they abolished black and gold, we gave the brand to those guys. Now, were they ready then? No, obviously not. So it was a little bit more of a culture shock than anything to see, these guys take the ball. They're not ready. It's not Adam Cole. It's not Ricochet. It's not, Undisputed Era. It's not Velveteen Dream. It's not whoever else Triple H was churning out on Black. It wasn't Johnny. It wasn't Champ. It wasn't Andrade. It wasn't Aleister Black. The NXT Black and Gold brand had so many different aspects of it that you invested in. Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker seemingly broke through all of the negativity. They broke through all of the bad on this show. And they shined in everything that they did. And now they are absolutely two guys on the brand that I enjoy watching and that I'm excited for to see where they go if they do get to the main roster at some point between now and the end of the year. I think Bron Breakker is going to get called up to the main roster after WrestleMania. I'm excited about where they're going. Tonight, that match was official. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to that segment, but that match is official for Stand and Deliver, and it's going to be a banger. It is going to be an absolute great match, passing of the torch moment. Carmelo's going to get his moment. Carmelo's going to be the world champion. Bron Breakker's going to be on the Raw after Mania. I predict that. And it's going to be a clash of the two guys that they legitimately gave the ball to and said, hey, this is your brand. The old NXT is no more. This is your brand. Make of it what you want. And here we are. So I love the fact that they came out tonight and they met face-to-face with nothing but legit, real feeling pumped into that segment. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We had Gigi Dolin versus Jacy Jayne tonight in a kind of revenge feud going on. Little bit of animosity there between those two ladies. We'll talk about that. I wasn't a big fan of what those two ladies did tonight at all. It really felt lackluster. It did not live up to all the hype that WWE put into it. It's not over by a long shot yet. I'm assuming they'll get a no DQ match of some sort at Stand and Deliver, but I wasn't really invested in what they were doing tonight. And then Dijak with my guy Tony D'Angelo, man. I thought they had a banger match tonight. I thought they both did very well in the Jailhouse Street Fight that we got on NXT, which actually opened the show tonight. And I thought those two guys had a very entertaining match. Dragon Lee made his NXT debut tonight. We'll talk about where I possibly see him going on the Stand and Deliver card. There was a reason why he was shown in front of the NXT faithful tonight. He got the little takeover spotlight type deal tonight in the crowd. He did keep his name. They are keeping him as Dragon Lee, which I'm surprised by, but I'm glad that they are because, it's how we know him. And I don't think WWE taking somebody like that where we can't really see his face, marketing him under a different name and persona would be very good for him. So I'm glad that they took him from where he was in Mexico and are keeping the essence of Dragon Lee the same on the WWE, not main roster, but the NXT brand. So we'll talk about that as well and where I see him going into the Stand and Deliver card. And we will talk about Roxanne Perez with her match with Meiko Satomura tonight. WWE did yet another HBK throwback tonight with Roxanne Perez as she fainted in the ring after a very brutal match with Meiko Satomura. We'll go over what happened there and what the callback was. Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart in 1995 on Monday Night Raw, where Shawn Michaels collapsed after he defeated Owen Hart on an episode of Monday Night Raw, which brought out the gurneys and the medical team and a concerned Vince McMahon. They did the same thing with Meiko and Roxanne tonight. In regards to Roxanne, she was gurneyed out on a stretcher and loaded into an ambulance as the show came to a close. Everybody's wondering what's going on there. I have no idea what's going on there. It may be something that plays into her match at Stand and Deliver, which I'm assuming will be against Tiffany Stratton. But we will find out in the coming weeks what's going on there. But I thought NXT was a decent show tonight. I don't call these shows good because I don't like the writing. I don't like half of the action that we see in the ring. I'm only invested in a handful of talents. But I'm excited for Stand and Deliver, man. I really am, because the card is shaping up to be one hell of a show. And we'll go over what I think that show is going to look like on the podcast tonight. I want to thank you guys for joining me, man. I know it's a slow night on Tuesdays. I know a lot of people don't like the NXT brand. They feel the same way that I do about the Tuesday night show. But I wanted to come on here, keep the ball rolling, keep the streak alive before I completely am void of energy, man. I've been live since Friday. I've been live since Friday on YouTube, man. We did Friday Night SmackDown. We did Saturday OTS 467 on Saturday night. We did AEW Revolution into the wee hours of Monday morning with the post show, man. Tremendous show. Absolutely incredible show by AEW on Sunday night. Monday Night Raw last night. We're live tonight for NXT. We'll be live tomorrow with Jesse from the venue for AEW Dynamite, the Fallout show from Revolution. We'll be live on Thursday for OTS midweek news and rumors and updates. So we got our weekly midweek live stream to get you guys covered on everything. And then Friday, I don't know what I'm doing yet, man. I don't know if Jason and I will be needed for the House of Glory show. I don't know what's going on there. It's not being streamed on Fight TV, so they might not need our services. So I will keep you guys up to date on whether I am going live on Friday or not. But if I'm not, I'm at the House of Glory show. If I'm not needed at the House of Glory, I will definitely be live on Friday night after SmackDown is over. So we got a lot going on this week, man. It's WrestleMania season. Keep me fucking busy. Keep me busy. Love you guys, man. Thank you for all the support. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Cameo. All the links that you need for my social media are down in the description below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Also, turn on the bell for notifications so you guys know when I do go live on YouTube, so that you can be right front and center in the venue when we are live. I would appreciate some thumbs up, man. Normally the goal is 1,000 on the live streams. Tonight, we're going to lower that goal because it's a smaller audience. Let's try for 750 likes minimum on the live stream tonight. Super chats are open. Get them on in. Memberships, always accepting applications to the VIP club. Become a channel member right here on OTS. And go check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. Everything you need is on the homepage. YouTube Shorts. I uploaded a Shorts today on the MJF water in the kid's face situation. And then all the live streams that you guys might have missed are live on the homepage. Go and check all that stuff out if you want more content from the channel. Anyway, man, let's start at the top with NXT. Get my notes out here. Roadblock. NXT Roadblock. It's their version of, I would say, Elimination Chamber. The Elimination Chamber is the next to last stop on the road to WrestleMania for the main roster. Roadblock is the next to last stop for NXT on the road to Stand and Deliver. And we open tonight's show with my guy, Tony D'Angelo. Tony D over here with his guy Stacks against Dijak in a Jailhouse Street Fight. Now, I feel the same way about Tony D as I did when I first saw it. I'm a little bit more partial to the gimmick because I'm Italiano, and it's very, yes, it's stereotypical. Yes, it's a little cheesy at times, but I think WWE's done a great job with Tony D. They didn't really over-embellish the gimmick. They didn't really make it corny. They didn't really go to the lengths of making it cartoonish. You know, there are guys, I know people that are like that in real life. So, I mean, when I see that, I kind of take a liking to that. To me, that's the type of thing that I invest my time into because it's relatable. I don't relate to a lot of things on this show. That, to me, is relatable. Plus, I think he's a great pro wrestler. I really do. I think he's going to be a very, very successful act on the main roster when his time comes, and I'm very excited to see where he goes in the future for sure. I think he's got the total package. He's got a great presence in the ring. He's got a great look. He's got decent theme music in this current era of WWE. He's not bad on the microphone. He's got the intensity. He's got what it takes. He's got what it takes for sure. Dijak. Big fan of Dijak. Big fan of Dijak even when he was in the black and gold. I hated what they did to him in Retribution. I'm sure he doesn't want to hear that. I'm sure he wants nothing to do with that ever again. I hope he burned the mask. I really do. Not a big fan of the gimmick. I think it's really over-the-top cheesy at times. And I find it kind of funny that they got these two guys in a gimmick match. They got two really character-forward guys. Forward. Yeah, that's real fucking New York coming out there. Character-forward wrestlers here on the NXT brand in a gimmick match. So, you know, not that I really care about that, but I just found that to be a coincidence there. Dijak, minus the gimmick, is fucking tremendous. He's absolutely incredible. And he is definitely one of the reasons why I would invest my time on a Tuesday night. There's very little to like about this show, but these two guys right here, for me, get me to keep up to date on NXT. And like I mentioned in the open, you know, I might not be here every Tuesday, but guys like this make me watch every week. I may not watch it on a Tuesday. I'll catch up with it on the train going to the gym. I'll catch up with it sometime later in the week, but I always watch the show when it hits Peacock. Always. And these two guys are definitely part of the reason why I do still tune into NXT. Rules for this match are similar to that of a casket match or an ambulance match. You got to win by, I think, either knocking your opponent out or throwing him into the little jail cell that they had set up in the middle of the aisleway and locking the gate shut. So that was the match here tonight. Obviously, no rules. Anything goes. So the match started off hot and heavy. Dijak, he piled chairs into the ring just before the match got started. And Dijak, at one point, went to the top rope. Chairs came back to bite him in the ass because all these chairs in the ring, D'Angelo cuts him off with a chair shot. And D'Angelo then suplexes Dijak off the top rope onto the pile of chairs in the ring. Excellent looking bump there by Dijak and great looking move by Tony D'Angelo. Dijak tried to make a comeback here. He sets up an actual table during a picture-in-picture commercial break on the outside. I was worried about this table because I'll tell you in a second. So the table's on the outside, and the crowd was chanting for tables earlier in the match, so these two guys obliged. Dijak is in the picture-in-picture commercial break, setting up the table, and when the show comes back from the picture-in-picture commercial, he puts Tony D'Angelo on the table, and you see the table legitimately about to fucking crack. The table was set up wrong, or the table was partially broken already. So when Tony got on the table, it was legitimately sagging with the weight of Tony D, and Tony D is not a small guy. So he's on the table, and the table is sagging. All of a sudden, you see Dijak rush into the ring. He springboards off the top rope to the outside, throws an elbow drop through Tony D and the table. Excellent looking spot for both guys in this opening match. Stacks, the accomplice here of Tony D, interferes. He tries to help Tony D. That backfires when D'Angelo throws Dijak into the cell, and Dijak takes Stacks as a hostage situation, because what does Tony D do? Does he allow Dijak to close the gate and beat the shit out of his guy and lock the cage and win the match? Or does he say, fuck this shit, I'm not going to allow you to beat my boy, Stacks? So Tony D was put into a little dilemma there, and he chose wisely, and he chose to save Stacks and not win the match when Dijak basically taunted him with winning the match, but you got to give up your buddy here. So that did not happen. So D'Angelo couldn't do it. Dijak is choking Stacks out. This then allows Dijak to get out of the cage and push the cage through and get through to Tony D'Angelo. He boots Stacks in the face. D'Angelo starts to fight back. He starts firing back on Dijak. Chair shots by Tony D. Dijak feeds the shots right back to him. Low blow right between the legs in the nuts by Dijak. That obviously turned the tide of the match. Dijak executed his Feast Your Eyes finish. Dijak went to go drag Tony D into the cage. Dijak is able to shut the door, but Stacks, who was knocked out before, lunges into the cage and blocks the door from actually closing. So Dijak gets pissed. He picks up Stacks. He gives him Feast Your Eyes, knocks him out. This save by Stacks allows Tony D to recover enough. D'Angelo gets up swinging a crowbar that Stacks, I believe, had in his hand when he dove into the cage. So Tony D picks up the crowbar. He blasts Dijak in the face with the crowbar. He knocks him into the cage, slams the door shut, and Dijak loses as Tony D wins the Jailhouse Street Fight. I thought this was very good. The action was great. We got some high offensive moves from Dijak like we usually see. Dijak continues his string of great matches on NXT. That banger match with Wes Lee, one of the best, probably the best NXT rebranded match. 3.0, we call it a 3.0. Probably the best NXT 3.0 match that we've seen so far. But really good stuff by both of these guys, man. I must say and reiterate, there's not a lot to like about this show. There's a lot that could really sway the viewer. You know, I know it's not black and gold. I know it's not what we are used to seeing from NXT. I know it's not what we want to see from NXT. But believe me when I say, Dijak, every bit of Dijak, minus the gimmick, is black and gold. I mean, he is black and gold. He wrestles like black and gold. Tony D'Angelo, I could absolutely take Tony D out of this NXT and put him on black and gold, and he'd fit like a glove. Really. I think both of these guys got it. And I hope that they kind of lessen the cringiness on the Dijak gimmick. I think that's a little too much. I don't know, maybe it's the presentation that's throwing me off a little bit. I don't know. But these two guys are absolutely two of the very few reasons why NXT is in a good place right now as far as their talent and the talent that they have on that roster. These two guys are at the top of the list. The tag team division is so weak. It is so weak, man. I don't know. Remember when we talked about Black and Gold, man? Black and Gold had the best tag team division anywhere, you know, where main roster was not doing anything with the tag team division. NXT was always thriving with their tag team titles, always. We had some great teams on NXT, some great teams. I have not felt that way about 2.0 or 3.0 at all. At all. And it continues. I was never a big NXT UK guy. I wasn't. Wolfgang, the only thing I remember about Wolfgang was his inclusion in the NXT title tournament, the inaugural one. Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, you know, big guys. They're not bad. I've seen them wrestle. I've watched NXT takeovers before in the UK. I know what they're capable of. I know how good they are. They are not translating to the United States audience. They are not where they need to be as far as what they were in NXT UK. I don't think people really are investing their time into the Gallus guys. Now, Pretty Deadly, I don't know if they are super popular coming off the NXT brand. I don't know if the New Day feud did anything to enhance them. I don't know how this NXT crowd usually takes to Pretty Deadly, but I am not a fan of them at all. I find them to be just overly cartoonish. I think it's a little too much. I don't know how to put it. It's almost as if they would be perfect for a Vince McMahon comedy character or comedy role. I don't see Pretty Deadly as anything more than mid-card jobbers, to be honest with you, on the main roster. They may actually fit on the main roster. Not everybody on the NXT brand right now is going to have success on the main roster. I do think Pretty Deadly would actually find success on the main roster because of how outlandish they are. They are more sports entertainment than they are what NXT is. about pro wrestling. But I'm not a fan of them. I'm not a fan of what Pretty Deadly is. So they got a face-to-face here. Gallus basically called out Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly shows up on that little eagle perch above the commentary table. And Gallus takes off their titles. And they lay the belts in the ring, basically taunting Pretty Deadly to come in and meet them face-to-face. Pretty Deadly charges to the ring. Gallus cleans house. They pretty much set them up. Gallus makes short work of Pretty Deadly, and Gallus boots them out of the ring. Pretty sure Pretty Deadly is going to get the tag team title match, a Stand and Deliver. But, I mean, Pretty Deadly, after this segment, looked like absolute geeks, to be honest with you. They acted all tough on the eagle perch, and then they walk down to the ring, and they get in there, and they're standing on the aprons doing some cartoonish shit, and Gallus just beats the shit out of them, and they look like fucking jobbers. They look like complete geeks. Not a big fan of the tag team division. Could not give a single shit about what's going on here with the tag team titles. Ilya Dragunov is hyping up a feud with JD, the fake JD, by the way. There's only one JD. You're looking at him. JD McDonough, which I'm assuming we are going to get this match at Stand and Deliver. That should be a banger. That should be a banger. Ilya Dragunov said the eyes are the windows to the soul, but JD McDonough has no soul. He said McDonough gets his happiness from breaking bones, but he would never break Dragunov's will. You know, I mentioned this on the podcast on Saturday. Finn Balor was on the bump. And Finn Balor kind of let us in on a little secret that him and his Judgment Day guys, and Rhea Ripley, they're in a group text, and they're already talking about adding a new member to the Judgment Day. I mentioned this on the podcast on Saturday. I said Karrion Kross would be a very good addition to Judgment Day. I think with the heat that they garner, Karrion Kross right now, where he's lacking, I think him and Judgment Day would actually be a decent fit. I'm watching NXT tonight, and I'm saying, damn, I forgot about JD McDonough. I forgot about McDonough. And the correlation with McDonough is his entire character fits exactly what Judgment Day is. JD McDonough was trained by Finn Balor. I mean, it's a perfect fit. So if JD McDonough is going to get called up to the main roster, what if JD McDonough gets called up to the main roster and joins Judgment Day as the fifth member? I think that'd be pretty fucking awesome. It's better off than putting him on the main roster by himself. Imagine putting him in a group like Judgment Day that is super over on the main roster, and he gets the rub through Finn Balor and the rest of Judgment Day that way. I think that'd be great. So Finn Balor's already talking about adding a new member. He did say this on the bump. We talked about this on Saturday, guys. You gotta keep up with the content. We talked about it on Saturday on OTS 467. Dragon Lee. He was sitting front row. There wasn't really much to this. He's in a suit. He's in a mask. He got the little takeover shine that Triple H used to do with all the newcomers that he signed to the WWE at these takeover shows. You'd give them a spotlight and you get the nameplate, and then people get to see who's coming in to NXT next. We got Dragon Lee sitting inside the WWE Performance Center getting that little takeover rub on NXT tonight. He is keeping the name Dragon Lee. He is going to be called Dragon Lee moving forward, which is a great thing because naming him anything else would be terrible. We know him as Dragon Lee. You signed him as Dragon Lee, and I need to see him perform as Dragon Lee. I have had the pleasure, believe it or not, of calling Dragon Lee and Dralistico as a tag team inside House of Glory. And if you guys do not know who Dragon Lee is, or if you're not familiar with Dragon Lee's work, you better get fucking ready, man. You better get excited. Dragon Lee is fucking incredible. I don't know what they plan to do with him. I don't know how he's going to fare in the WWE with the language barrier. I don't know what they plan to do with him on this brand. Because by far and away, leagues beyond anybody, he's going to be the best thing coming off this show. There's two things that I hope to happen here with Dragon Lee. Two things. Number one, I hope this signing and this introduction of Dragon Lee leads NXT to becoming a little bit more of what we loved about the black and gold. Signing Dragon Lee to WWE is absolutely something that I see Triple H doing if he was in charge of black and gold. So I hope that Dragon Lee and what he brings to the table is the first step in WWE welcoming indie talents with major name value back into the WWE, where Vince McMahon didn't want anything to do with the indie talents coming on into the company, and he wanted nothing but homegrown talents built from the Performance Center. But that was never going to work in the long term. That was never going to work in the long term because it would take years and years for those people to be ready. What are you going to do now? You need people on TV now. Can't keep the same people on the brand now without promoting them to the main roster. You got to keep the cycle moving. So I hope that this signing leads to WWE welcoming more indie talents like Dragon Lee into the company and making it feel safe for them to come and work, giving us a little bit more of that black and gold presence. Secondly, Dragon Lee, what do we do with him at the pay-per-view? Being that they introduced him already on TV, there's a reason why they gave him the spotlight and nothing else tonight. They wanted you to know he was there. They wanted you to know that he signed. And Wesley's having open challenges for the North American Championship. He's got this open challenge addiction. And it's great. Wesley is another one of those guys. Black and gold, through and through. He's exactly what we loved about the black and gold. He's one of the best things about NXT right now, currently. He's in that class like I put Tony D and Dijak and Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker. Wesley is right there as well. Those are the top 5 guys to me on the brand. What are you doing with Dragon Lee at the pay-per-view? Easy. He answers an open challenge for Wesley and the North American Championship, and you give Dragon Lee that big victory at NXT Stand and Deliver. Can you imagine that? Dragon Lee versus Wesley. 2 Lees. The Battle of the Lees at Stand and Deliver. Dragon Lee versus Wesley for the North American Championship. Carmelo Hayes versus Bron Breakker for the NXT Championship. Roxanne Perez versus Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship. Grayson Waller versus Johnny Gargano in a grudge match at NXT Stand and Deliver. Ilya Dragunov versus JD McDonough. I mean, Stand and Deliver, man, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of NXT 3.0, but when I see a banger, I know a banger when I see a banger. This show's shaping up to be a fucking banger show. And I'll be watching on that Saturday afternoon. Should be awesome. Dragunov and McDonough, Lee and Wesley, I could see, or Dragon Lee and Wesley for the North American Championship. I see those 2 matches taking place at the Stand and Deliver show for sure. Bron Breakker and the Creeds, Julius and Brutus, they battled Indus Sher, Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal! I don't believe Jinder Mahal is on NXT, and I have to see Jinder Mahal on my television, man. Ugh. Jinder Mahal is one of the worst WWE champions ever crowned in company history. I don't know what his inclusion on this show means for anybody. In fact, him on the show makes the entire segment absolutely worthless. In my honesty, I walk away. There's no reason why I need to see this man on television. A lot of people were like, Jinder Mahal is gonna enhance Bron Breakker. He's wrestling a former WWE champion. I don't know how these people operate or what they think when they speak. But saying former WWE champion in the same breath as Jinder Mahal actually makes the WWE Championship seem less prestigious. It's a bad look for the WWE. You know, Jinder Mahal is the type of guy that almost killed SmackDown in 2007. I'll never forget it. What they did with him as champion, they absolutely almost killed the entire brand with him as champion. What a dark day that was, huh? What a dark day that was. So Bron Breakker's in this little mini feud with Jinder Mahal. It's a little stopgap before he gets on to the Stand and Deliver show and Carmelo Hayes. There was nothing about this match. Outside of Bron Breakker, I don't really care about anybody else involved. I'm not a big fan of the Creeds, even though I think that they will be a great addition to the tag team division when they're ready to get called up. I'm not really a big fan of them. I feel like their presentation is very bland. I feel like their promos are very scripted and manufactured. They aren't really genuine or organic. Indus Sher, I couldn't give two shits about Jinder Mahal and what he does on the show. So this was a complete miss for me. Every time these guys are on the show is going to be a complete miss for me. So the teams, at the end, they start trading near falls and near fall for I think the baby faces here as Veer saves Sangha from taking a pin. Veer, remember Veer and him on the main roster and how they hyped him up for, 9 months with vignettes? And then he finally made his debut and he feuded with Rey Mysterio, and then all of a sudden he disappears. Now he's on NXT. What a complete joke that was, huh? But I'll tell you what, him and Sangha look like a formidable tag team. They are still green as grass, but they look good together. So Veer saves Sangha from taking a pin. Indus Sher does the old demolition finish. But the pin attempt is also broken up there by the babyfaces. Breakker delivers some spears. Veer strikes, takes out Breakker. Creeds then double team Veer. He's placed in a doomsday device. This looked great. So Veer is in a doomsday device. Brutus leaps off the top rope with a cannonball elbow, and they win the match as Veer goes down hard. Brutus makes the cover on Veer, 1, 2, 3, and the team of Bron Breakker and the Creeds end up getting a victory here as Bron Breakker now can look on to Stand and Deliver and Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. Shawn Michaels. This is the reason why I watched the show tonight. Shawn Michaels and Grayson Waller and the Grayson Waller effect. I'm not a big fan of WWE talk shows. I think it's an antiquated concept. I understand why they continue to do it. It fills TV time. It gets something started for a feud to develop without actually having to waste a match. I get why they do it. I just feel like the whole concept is antiquated in 2023. Out of all the talk shows that I see, we got the Miz TV shit. We had the KO show shit where Triple H did away with that. As soon as he got into the creative role, fuck this shit. Kevin Owens is wrestling, man. Fuck the KO show bullshit. How many KO shows did we see on the Triple H? Zero. We got the Ding Dong Hello Bailey talk show. We got, who else do we got? That's basically it. It's just those two, really. Those are the two predominant talk shows right now in WWE, with Miz TV obviously being the one that they always kind of end up doing on the main roster. Grayson Waller's got a decent-looking talk show. The Grayson Waller effect is aesthetically better looking than most of the recent TV segments, TV talk show segments that WWE's done. They got palm trees in the back. They got a big angled desk. He's actually streaming on his mobile device. He's streaming to Instagram. They don't show any of the comments that is in the IG chat when he's live. They got a little ticker bar on the bottom of the TV screen with fake tweets, with made-up names, kind of shitting on him, but also kind of hyping him up. So I like the segment. I like the whole aesthetic look of the Grayson Waller effect. So his guest tonight is Shawn Michaels. And how all this started was Grayson Waller wants to be the guy. Grayson Waller wants to be the face of the company. He believes he's the face of the brand. He said to Shawn Michaels after the Vengeance Day post-show scrum with the media, "You got a problem with me? Why am I not the guy? I want more opportunities. That should be my world championship. Is it because I don't suck your dick? Is it because I'm not a fanboy like the rest of the locker room to you? You choose favorites. Am I not playing favorites here?" Am I not buddy with the boss? So basically all the stereotypical shit from disgruntled coworker, disgruntled employee to boss. That's basically where we are. So Grayson Waller wants to be the face of the company, he wants to be the face of the brand. He feels like he should be the world champion. So hopefully we were going to get these answers tonight with Shawn Michaels being there. What's the problem? What's the animosity? Where is this coming from? So Shawn Michaels is out there and his theme music ends. We got Sexy Boy playing on the PA system. I'll never get tired of hearing it. It just brings me back to the golden days. The crowd in the Performance Center, when the music died down, they were singing Shawn Michaels' theme song. So the theme song died down, and they kept the theme song going with a complete a cappella of people in the Performance Center singing the lyrics to Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy. It got so loud that Grayson Waller had to actually yell and speak over the audience. And Shawn Michaels was kind of getting thrown off a little bit because he couldn't really think about what he needed to say in this segment because he was so taken aback by everybody singing his theme. But that's what's going to happen. You know, we don't usually see Shawn Michaels on television. We know he's the guy in charge, but we don't usually see someone like that in that role who sits in Gorilla show up on the TV show. And when he does, it's a special thing. When he does, that's the type of reaction he's going to get. And he's legitimately the greatest of all time. So he's out there. And Waller said 8-year-old Waller would have been excited just like these guys. But now he's disappointed. He said he should go back in time and tell himself to be a Brett guy. So Shawn Michaels says, all right, we're taking off the gloves already. I just got here. You want to go there? Okay. Waller said he was the best on the mic, the best in the ring, and his social media skills were unmatched. Said HBK was treating him the same way Vince treated HBK. He congratulated Michaels on proving Vince wrong, but said now he is Vince. Waller said legitimately Shawn Michaels has become Vince McMahon. Well, maybe, with the way that this show's booked, maybe, I don't know. But no one can be as bad as Vince McMahon. So Michaels said he let go of the reins on him a long time ago. What are you talking about? You're free to do whatever you want. What are you talking about? He says he wasn't the guy because he lost at Vengeance Day. You want to know why you're not the guy? You lost to Bron Breakker clean in a steel cage match. You wanted the steel cage match to find out who the better guy was, and you lost. Why don't I think you're the guy? Why am I not giving you opportunities? You lost. It's very refreshing to know that management is keeping tabs on who wins and who loses. You can't get another title shot. You lost. Go to the back of the line and work for it. He took his shot and missed. He said the guy Waller has to look at is the guy in the mirror. Waller said the only reason Michaels is standing in that position in Gorilla is because his best mate, Triple H, had a heart attack. A lot of things happened as to why Shawn Michaels is now the man in charge. You know, they left a lot. Obviously, they're not going to tell this on the TV show tonight. So they went right for Triple H had a heart attack, and that's why Shawn Michaels is there in Gorilla running the show. No. Triple H, let me go over a little timeline of things here. Triple H was in charge of Black and Gold. Triple H was in charge of NXT to go into war against AEW to stifle the momentum of AEW early on. Triple H failed. Triple H did not want to go to war with AEW. Triple H was forced into a war with AEW by Vince McMahon. When Vince McMahon realized that Triple H was not winning the war because Vince didn't want to go to war himself, he wanted to use somebody else to win the war or try and win the war. So he used his son-in-law. So when Triple H lost the war, he blamed Triple H for failing to get the job done. It's a better look for Vince McMahon to put Triple H in charge and fail instead of Vince McMahon going at it himself and failing himself. At least in this point, he'd have somebody to blame. He was never going to blame himself. So Triple H failed to beat AEW. Triple H failed to stifle the momentum of AEW. Triple H then had his entire brand and all of the years he put into the black and gold demolished by Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. This is when we got Triple H announcing that he had a heart attack and Triple H is out and he's going to need recuperation time and he's going to step away from his active duties in WWE. This is when Vince and Bruce Pritchard ran the show. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Shawn Michaels was backstage. Shawn Michaels never was running the show until Vince retired. That's when Triple H let Shawn Michaels fully run NXT. Triple H was gone. Vince and Bruce ran the show. Shawn Michaels was there in the early days of 2.0, and Shawn Michaels was a puppet as Vince ran the show and Bruce ran the show. John Laurinaitis was there as well. They all collectively ran the show. That's what happened to NXT and the death of Black and Gold. I can pinpoint moments. A lot of people think Shawn Michaels was running the show. Remember all those times when Bron Breakker used to come out making those entrances, destroying the old Black and Gold logo and crunching through or blasting through the NXT logo, pulling down chains and breaking the Black and Gold logo into 1,000 pieces? I'm sure Shawn Michaels would approve that, right? Shawn Michaels loved Black and Gold like his own child. Shawn Michaels would never approve that. That was a Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard pushed agenda. So yes, they missed a whole lot of shit there, so they went right to the Triple H heart attack. Shawn Michaels is now fully in charge because Vince is retired. Bruce Pritchard doesn't have a say in the creative process anymore, neither on the main roster and on NXT. So Shawn Michaels is now completely in charge. Whether that's a good thing or not, some people look at it as a good thing. I don't look at it as a good thing. I think Shawn Michaels and his creative process is very main roster-like, and it's not exactly the type of vibe I want on Tuesday night. So that's your history lesson there as to why he said best mate Hunter had a heart attack, and now you're the one sitting in Gorilla because of that. But a lot of things before that, that led up to that, happened, which clearly they're not going to mention here. So, HBK is the one directing the ship. Waller said, well, this ship is going straight into an iceberg. I like the words that he chose there. Some weeks it definitely feels like it is. He says he wouldn't be surprised to see his name on a cut list because the brass doesn't see greatness standing in front of them. HBK said this brand was made on the shoulders of people like Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Undisputed Era. Surprised the Undisputed Era was mentioned here. They work for the other company, or at least one of them, the main guy, works for AEW. Kyle O'Reilly's still over there as well. We haven't heard or seen from Roddy. Don't know where he is. But yes, they did mention Undisputed Era as well. He said Waller is a part of it too. Waller mockingly yelled, oh yay, I'm a part of it. It's a team. Shawn Michaels emphasized that NXT is not about one guy. You're not bigger than the brand. It's a team effort. Oh yay, I'm a part of a team. I'm Mr. Team Player. So Waller was asked, well, who's going to Raw and SmackDown? Who's going? Braun? Maybe? Mello? Zoe? That's it. Who else? Who else? Waller kept ranting and ranting. HBK finally yelled and said enough and says he could come after Michaels, but don't ever run this brand's name into the ground. Oh, don't worry, Shawn. Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard already did that enough to a point where I don't think the brand is ever going to recover, but no, let's blame Grayson Waller for running the brand into the ground. Waller said it pisses Shawn off. If it pisses him off, do something about it. He said, me and you stand and deliver. Tune the band up one last time. Michaels took off his coat and then really got personal here. For years, people have been knocking on my door for a decade. The greatest in the world have asked me for a WrestleMania dream match. Michaels says Waller thinks he's something special, but he's just the latest guy to try that same tactic. He said nothing would thrill him more than to whip his ass. And the crowd got excited because everybody thought that he was going to say yes to a WrestleMania match. But someone wants to do that even more than I do. Someone who bleeds NXT. He said Waller's opponent at Stand and Deliver is this man, and he pointed to the aisleway. And Johnny Gargano showed up, returned to NXT. Gargano attacked and ran Waller off to a huge Johnny Wrestling chant. And that's the way the segment came to an end. Johnny Gargano being on NXT is great. I mean, if there is anybody that embodies black and gold, he is the face of black and gold. He will forever be, and Ciampa equally, the face of black and gold. No doubt about it. To me, anyway. I did not like where this story and where this storyline started off because I thought it was overly manufactured. I thought it was being forced on us. There was nothing genuine about it. I felt like they materialized that out of nothing just to kind of sell a little storyline going into Stand and Deliver. Oh, hey, let's get Shawn Michaels on TV to act as the boss against the disgruntled employee and tease a dream match so we drum up some attention for Stand and Deliver. Did that work? Maybe. Possibly. I'm glad Shawn Michaels is not wrestling at Stand and Deliver. Outside of all the feelings that I had about it being manufactured and kind of forced and not genuine, the fact that Johnny Gargano came out here was a tremendous treat. Not only for the people watching at home and the people that were in the live audience tonight, but it was a treat for NXT. It was legitimately the first time with me watching Black and Gold dismantled to see that opening night of 2.0 and to see where the brand is now and watch every episode in between that to this day. To see Johnny Gargano and Grayson Waller in the ring, I wouldn't call it long-term booking because I don't really think that this was the plan when Johnny Gargano came back to the company. I don't think this is what they had in mind for Johnny Gargano. Yeah, we're going to bring you back and we're going to feud you with Grayson Waller. It's not long-term booking. The definition of long-term booking is not this. This is more of, let's close up this circle. Let's get this coming full circle. We got Johnny here. We got a major show. He is NXT. Stand and Deliver's got to be as big as possible. Who am I going to choose to wrestle on my behalf? There's nobody more perfect than that for Shawn Michaels than Johnny Gargano. And so not only is Johnny Gargano NXT, but Shawn Michaels chose the absolute most perfect guy for this role. And it's just the cherry on top of the cake that when we saw Johnny last on NXT, he was actually thrown out of NXT by Grayson Waller. This was one of the most genuine full circle moments that I think the brand has had in many, many, many years. And it only was made better because of the relationship between Shawn Michaels and Johnny Gargano. I thought this was excellent. They really kind of tied everything up nicely at the end. Did not like where it started. Did not like how it was manufactured and didn't feel genuine. It felt forced. But Johnny coming out, everything felt right when Johnny came out. He got a great reaction. This crowd loves him. This is the type of reaction I wish he would get on the main roster. Maybe this gives him some rub going back to the main roster. A lot of people are asking what Johnny Gargano's doing at WrestleMania. As far as I know, he's not doing anything at WrestleMania. So why not use him here? Why not use him in this role and get him on a major show in front of a couple of thousand people and get him to work with Grayson Waller, which should be a banger match? I got no problem with it. The one thing I wish that they would do, and I mentioned this last night, I mean, they got to get rid of that fucking Rebel Heart remix song. I mean, that shit does not hit at all. That shit sucks. WWE, I mean, they got no problem. They got no problem buying the rights to CFO Money's theme of Sami Zayn, Worlds Apart. Aren't those the same guys that did that Rebel Heart, that version of Rebel Heart for Johnny Gargano? Let's get that version back on TV because this current Def Rebel version is fucking garbage. It does nothing for him at all. Nothing. The old theme is so much more Johnny Gargano than this current one. And we've been hearing this one for weeks now. Shit is awful. Gigi Dolin. She went one-on-one with Jacy Jayne. This was not good. This was not good at all. I did not care for Toxic Attraction as a group. I thought Mandy Rose was Toxic Attraction. I think the other two really were just there aesthetically to make Toxic Attraction round out as a trio of beautiful women. But with Mandy Rose gone, a lot of people are looking at, oh my God, the future is Jacy Jayne. The future is Gigi Dolin. I do not see what people are talking about. I don't. I see it more so in Gigi than I do Jacy. But I just truly don't understand the appeal of a Jacy Jayne. I don't. Her promo is god-awful. It sounds ridiculously... It basically sounds like she memorized the script 5 minutes before she went out, and she's basically reading what she was handed to her 5 minutes before she went through the curtain. It doesn't sound personable. Like, when you speak to somebody, I don't want you to sound like an android. I don't want you to sound like you're reading off of a script somebody else wrote for you. That's the problem with these young pro wrestlers. There's no charisma. There's no heart. There's no soul. They don't know who they are. And that's what jumps off the screen to me when I hear Jacy Jayne speak. I'm listening to her speak a couple weeks ago after she threw Jacy Jayne through the ding-dong hello door after that beatdown on Gigi Dolin. And I'm listening to this promo, and I'm like, oh, my God, does she sound awful. It sounds so rehearsed. And people on social media are praising this. I'm like, what are you watching that I am missing? It's not good. Who speaks like that? When I watch somebody in an acting role, because pro wrestling is part in-ring, you got to be part actor, you got to be part stuntman. When you're in a pro wrestling setting and you speak as if you are throwing words off of a script, I think it's time to go back to the drawing board. Now, Gigi Dolin is a little bit more relatable. I don't know who Jacy Jayne is. Apparently, she doesn't know who she is either because she doesn't sound the part. Gigi Dolin apparently is a little bit more personable. And this was actually something that was discussed on the Busted Open podcast with Bully Ray. Speaking on Busted Open, Gigi was a guest. And Gigi further elaborated on her childhood lifestyle and her real life story. She says this, and I quote, "Wrestling. This is taboo for how I was raised. I came up in a culture where women didn't have jobs. They didn't marry or date outside of the culture. They were taken out of public school. I wasn't really allowed to have friends or go out or hang out with people. Doing what I do is taboo in itself." Gigi revealed that she grew up as a child gypsy. And she says this, "Child gypsy, I grew up living an old school, strict lifestyle. It's an interesting lifestyle because I was sheltered growing up until I found wrestling. And I left home when I turned 18. I slept on couches, in cars, and I didn't have money or have my parents in my life at the time. They were both dealing with addiction and issues like that growing up. I've been through the ringer. To be able to see where I came out of, that is amazing. That's why I'm so determined to give my brother this incredible life because he's 11 years younger than me. He kind of got the trailing end of childhood without me in the picture to take him away from that. My goal in wrestling is to give him this incredible life." Dolin went on to say she wants to give her brother a good life and credited her brother for getting her into wrestling. She stated that her brother is autistic and latched onto an Undertaker figure, which was her first discovery of wrestling. She says this, "It's almost a hard thing to talk about because there's so much misconstrued information and stereotypes out there. It's a touchy subject because a lot of people are ignorant to my ethnicity and culture. That it gets thrown around a lot, what people assume about it. There was a TV show on TLC 10 years ago called My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding. I was a part of it when I was 14. I had a birthday party. I didn't have a wedding. They took my story, which was supposed to be a birthday, and they stretched it and made it into a really disturbing, disgusting story of, oh, her parents are trying to get her a husband at 14. That wasn't the case whatsoever. Ever since then, I've been leery of how I present that because people can see that and misconstrue it or think that it's these stereotypical things that they've seen on TV. That's why I have to be careful when I talk about it in public." And she went on to go and reveal that her mother thought wrestling was something that she would grow out of when she started it at 16, but she eventually kept on moving into the industry and moved out at 18. Gigi Dolin's story, you know, they took both of these characters who were in Toxic Attraction, and they made one relatable and they made the other one completely nauseating. They made one relatable and you look at her and you want her to succeed. The other I can't stand to listen to. This is the reason why I read this to you guys, and the reason why I had this in my notes. I wanted to go over the stark differences between Gigi Dolin and Jacy Jayne. Who's going to end up being more successful? I don't know. I don't know. They both have their problems. They both have their deficiencies. This match was not good tonight. This match was not a good start to what everybody was excited about as a hot feud. I mean, they pulled from the Shawn Michaels bank of gimmicks here. I mean, they gave these two ladies, clearly they care about these two ladies. Clearly they see something that I don't in these two ladies. I mean, they gave them the barber shop window treatment. Jacy Jayne's turn on Gigi was Michaels' turn on Janetti. Did it have the same effect? Of course not. Bobby Heenan wasn't there. And barbershop window, an iconic moment that will never be recreated. So, coming out of that, you're going to recreate that moment, and then you're going to have this match fall flat on its face. This shit was not good. There was no intensity in this. I felt like the women were not given enough time to sell what they were shilling us a couple of weeks ago. I don't think Jacy Jayne is all that good in the ring. Gigi Dolin maybe a little bit better. I don't know. I think they're about even, to be quite honest with you. I think Gigi might just kind of sneak out a little bit more than Jacy. But I genuinely don't see what everybody sees in these two ladies. I don't. Without Toxic Attraction, I said this from day one, it is going to be very difficult to get these ladies where they need to be away from Toxic Attraction. They were Toxic Attraction. They all they had was Toxic Attraction. Now they have nothing. Who are they? That's what we have to learn. We now know a little bit about Gigi, but I don't know who Jacy Jayne is. And with her attitude and her persona and the way she speaks and the lack of in-ring ability that I see, I don't really believe in anything she does, and I'm not going to really invest my time in her anytime soon. Jayne gets heat on Dolin, and there were some chants here back and forth. There was just a lack of energy in this match that clearly was not there, that needed to be there with the heat that we were sold on for this feud. Jayne jumped Dolin with a... I'm jumping ahead. Dolin eventually came back and won the match with a crucifix bomb to score a pinfall on Jacy Jayne. Jacy then jumps Dolin after the match to get the heat back on her for losing in the most anticlimactic way. Jayne gets a folding chair and they tease Pillmanizing Gigi's neck. Referees get into the ring and they stop this from happening, and Jacy's trying to push through the referees, and all of this just came off so terrible. So terrible. There's nothing about this. Seeing this tonight, I don't even care for a rematch. I don't. As far as I'm concerned, Gigi beats Jacy. Let's move on, to be quite honest with you. Bron Breakker. He comes out. He just walks out with no theme music. Bron Breakker walks out. He's got the NXT Championship over his shoulder. And he called out Carmelo Hayes. So he's out there, and Carmelo comes out. Big Melo chants when Melo's out there. Melo, by the way, worked a dark match on Monday Night Raw last night, and there was a picture floating around on social media with Carmelo Hayes, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, and the giant Omos with MVP. Everybody's like, there's your new Hurt Business right there. I wouldn't mind that at all. A heel Street Profits tag team, I'm ready for it. Carmelo Hayes working with MVP, I'm ready for it. How to make Omos look decent without having him wrestle, there you go. I'd take that. Sounds like a decent group to me. Fits right in line. Imagine that, man. Carmelo Hayes and the Street Profits teaming up. I could get behind that. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Melo and Bron Breakker. So they basically were in the ring telling each other that they were both keeping tabs on each other from day one, because they always knew at some point it was always going to end with them. They put themselves over as the two chosen at the start of NXT 2.0 when the show rebranded 18 months ago. Hayes told Breakker he'd keep it short and sweet, put the championship on the line. Let's do this at Stand and Deliver. And he warned him that he's never second to anybody, did Mello. Breakker said, yeah, we'll see about that come April 1st. This was a very short and sweet segment. The genuineness that came off Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes was something that I absolutely loved. I wish we'd see more of this. I just got done talking about Jacy Jayne and the lack of realness there, the fact that she sounds overly scripted. These guys went out there with literally nothing but what they were feeling, and they came off having a great segment. This was probably the most genuine, down-to-earth, real segment that I've seen on NXT 2.0 or the rebranded version of NXT since it got rebranded. This is all that was needed. That was it. You didn't need to do anything. They've been doing Bron Breakker and Jinder Mahal for the last couple of weeks. Nobody gives a shit about that. Now we're here, and we got Stand and Deliver and this match. This match needed no extra fluff, no extra build. It didn't need this big, elaborate storyline. This is the end of the line. You stand and you deliver. WrestleMania weekend. It is WrestleMania weekend. It ends with Breakker and Carmelo. This is 18 months in the making. WWE chose Breakker as the guy to lead this brand. He's been at the top of the mountain for 18 months. He's been in every main event sequence, every main event aspect of NXT. He's been there for 18 months. Carmelo Hayes has been busting his ass as the prodigy to come off this brand. They were given the task of leading this brand, number one and number two. This is basically, how am I going to put it in reference to me? This is, if I'm looking at the Atlanta Braves starting rotation in 1996, this is Greg Maddux and John Smoltz at the top of the Atlanta Braves pitching rotation going into the 1996 season. They had 4 20-game winners in 1996. John Smoltz won 24 fucking games. This is, I love my Braves. This is, I don't want to use them in the same vein as, oh my God, let's compare Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes to these two, but this is basically Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin for NXT. Now, I'm not comparing them to Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but the number one and number two aspect of what they were, this is Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker. That's all you need. This is going to be a passing of the torch moment. I'm keeping tabs on you from day one. Yeah, I'm keeping tabs on you too. Why? Because I knew we would be here. This is it. A clash of the two very best. A clash of the two guys that were told from the first day, this is going to be your brand. Make of it what you want. This is yours. You're going to make what you want with it. And now here we are. It's going to be great. Carmelo Hayes is absolutely winning that world championship. And Bron Breakker, hopefully they got a plan for him on the main roster. We'll see you on Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. That's my prediction. This was great. Tyler Bate was backstage. He was with Thea Hale and Chase Yu doing yoga. Tyler Bate is a world-class 5-star professional wrestler. They got him doing yoga with Chase Yu. And you want to know why I shit on NXT Creative. He said Hale is a big, strong girl, and she's got this. Andre Chase and Duke Hudson looked on. Duke Hudson does not trust Tyler Bate. Hale thanked Bate and left with Chase. Hudson told Bate that he couldn't believe she bought the snake oil that he was selling her. So we got some little jealousy there in Chase U. Joe Gacy versus Andre Chase. Didn't really care. 4 minutes. Joe Gacy wins in 4 minutes. I do love the Chase U chant that he does. He stomps, spelling out Chase. What does that spell? You. I think that's cool. Thea Hale was on the outside. She psyched herself up here. She was confronted by Ava Raine, and she stood up to Ava Raine, showing that she wasn't afraid. So it kind of made Thea kind of overcome her fear of Ava Raine, because there's been a couple moments where she's been afraid to confront Thea Hale. Raine no-sold it, and in this time, Gacy was about to finish off Andre Chase. hit his finisher. 1, 2, 3. Gacy wins in about 4 minutes. Never was a big fan of the schism. Never was, never will be. I think they're just a poor man's... They're a poor man's Wyatt family. They're a poor man's sanity. There's nothing about them that is jumping off the screen to me as, oh my God, this is going to be the next big group in WWE. Lame. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire spoke about Fallon Henley and Kiana James, and they are eyeing the rest of the women's tag team division. What happened to Alba Fire, man? Alba Fire looked so cool in regards to what she was doing on NXT, and they got her mixing it up with Isla Dawn doing witchcraft-type things. Meanwhile, Alba Fire came out here with her baseball bat wanting to kick ass, and we're kind of moving away from that. I don't really understand why. Main event. Roxanne Perez versus Meiko Satomura for the NXT Women's Championship. These ladies were given enough time to do what they had to do in the main event. Very good, hard-hitting, with a major closing angle that is going to get people talking about what's to come in the week leading into next week's show. We got the bigger ring introductions, main event scene, main event vibe all laid out. Satomura was working the leg. Perez was able to counter. Kind of slow to start. They were doing some groundwork, some submission-based wrestling here. There was a dragon screw that targeted Satomura's leg by Roxanne. Roxanne started to fire up, showing some offense here. Perez avoided Satomura's finisher. Perez leaps through the ropes with a dive to the outside. They tease a superplex back in the ring on the top rope. Satomura goes for a splash, but Perez gets her knees up. Satomura cuts off Perez with a lot of kicks. They trade near falls back and forth. They trade strikes, combos, Saito suplex by Satomura. Perez kicks out. Satomura then used a Death Valley driver, followed with that signature falling kick. Perez kicked out again, showing that come from behind babyface. You know, smallest dog in the fight, but, you know, a lot of heart type babyface. So they're on the apron, and they're trading kicks and strikes on the apron. They fight to the floor. Perez goes for pop rocks, but Satomura blocks it, and Satomura delivers a big kick to the floor, knocks Perez out. Perez is rolled back into the ring where she gets a foot on the bottom rope as Meiko goes for a pin, but the foot on the rope breaks the hold, or breaks the pinfall. Satomura goes for her Scorpion Rising finisher. Perez counters to roll up Satomura for a shock. 1, 2, 3. There were some stiff kicks in this match, man. There was one that actually was shown on replay where Meiko just absolutely blasted Roxanne right here, right in the throat. Could have knocked her out easy. But with all the punishment that Roxanne took in this match, she gets up. Roxanne is handed the championship. Meiko holds her arm in the air, and all of a sudden, she falls to the mat, and she lays there unconscious. She's not moving. The crowd went dead silent. Everybody was so concerned looking on. Roxanne Perez just dropped in the middle of the ring, passed out. Nothing, no movement, no anything. So Satomura went to go check on her. Referees and a medical team got involved, and they ran out. They went to go check on her. All of a sudden, Booker T gets up from the commentary desk. We're getting a little bit more emotion in this now as he gets into the ring. Everybody's asking, well, oh shit, what's going on? Audience, I don't know if they knew what was going on. I don't know if they were genuinely concerned or not, but there was a dead silence over this audience. And they loaded Roxanne onto a gurney. They put her in a neck brace. They rolled her out up the aisleway. Shawn Michaels is out there. He puts the little plastic thingy, the oxygen tank over her, the oxygen breather thingy over her face. They roll her to the back. You see the cameras following her to the back, and they're leading her out into the parking lot, into the ambulance, and that's the way NXT goes off the air. So Shawn Michaels, man, he's having a great time. He's having a great time doing all these throwback classic HBK skits with some of his favorites on the NXT roster. We saw Gigi Dolin Jacy Jayne kind of recreate the modern day barbershop window on Ding Dong Hello a couple of weeks ago. And here we have a throwback to Monday Night Raw in 1995 with Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart on Monday Night Raw, where Shawn Michaels beats Owen Hart in a one-on-one match, and Shawn Michaels collapses in the middle of the ring. Gurneys and ambulance and fucking stretcher job, and Vince McMahon's out there looking concerned. I don't know where this is going to lead. But I think a lot of people are going to be interested to see what happens, what comes of this on next Tuesday. Does this lead to Roxanne being weak? Does this lead to Meiko being the reason Roxanne loses her championship at Stand and Deliver? Is Tiffany Stratton going to reap the benefits of this? I don't know. Maybe Tiffany Stratton beats Roxanne Perez and Roxanne Perez gets called up to the main roster. I have no idea. But another throwback HBK moment here. And NXT went off the air with the cliffhanger of Roxanne. What happened to her and why did she collapse? And where do they go from here? All in all, decent NXT show tonight. Nothing really to cry home about. But not bad for a Roadblock show where really the only thing I was interested in was Shawn Michaels and Grayson Waller. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you joining me tonight, man. I know Tuesdays are not really as lively as what we usually do on a Monday or Wednesday or Friday, but I'm glad you hung out for a little bit tonight, man. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, man. We got 553 likes in the chat. I'd love if we can get as close to 750 as possible. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. And please make sure you guys go check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. Also, follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Roxanne's going to be okay, guys. It's a storyline. It is a storyline. She's not really hurt. She didn't really collapse. I know you want to believe everything you see on TV, but she'll be fine. Tony Brown with a 199. Let's get into the super chats, guys. 199 from Tony Brown. Not enough meat. Bro, Gigi's got enough meat for the entire fucking week, bro. What are you talking about? Roxanne's got enough meat for the entire week. Who cares? Love you, Tony Brown. You'll get your meat fixed tomorrow, man. AEW's grade A meat. Joseph Taylor with a $3 super chat. JD, your top 3 favorite NXT takeovers. Whichever ones Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa main evented. NXT TakeOver Philly, NXT New York. I mean, they were just all so good. Tenorio with a 10 in super chat. JD, facial hair, Triple H, handlebar mustache, or Randy Orton, construction worker beard. I'm going to go with Randy Orton. Also, JD, can I put the lotion in the Von Wagner baskets? Yeah, I don't know. No. I think that joke is expired, bro. It was funny when we first started it. No more. Tay the Savior with the 7 months. Thank you, brother. What are your top 5 takeover matches, and what do you do with Dragon Lee? Top 5 takeover matches. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, 1, 2, and 3. Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, and Johnny Gargano, Andrade. Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole at TakeOver New York is the best NXT match of all time. What do I do with Dragon Lee? Open challenge. Wesley versus Dragon Lee, North American Championship at Stand and Deliver. Tenario, also with a $5 super chat. JD, what is your favorite NXT Women's Championship match? Sasha Banks, Bayley take over Brooklyn #1. Greatest women's match in the history of WWE. Jedi Joker 93 with a $2 super chat. JD, who's your favorite Mortal Kombat fighter? Mine is Reptile. My favorite is Scorpion. And Furious Nation with 17 months. Appreciate you, brother. What's up, JD? NXT was decent tonight. Who do you see getting called up to the main roster or debuting after WrestleMania besides Bron Breakker? I could see Roxanne Perez getting called up. I could see Cora Jade getting called up. I could see Kaden Carter and Katana Chance getting called up. I could see Grayson Waller getting called up. They're not all going to get called up, but I could see any one of those names getting called up. And Solitude Star with a $2 super chat. Just left the show, and yes, we did think it was real. Ah, it's still real to me, damn it. Now, Solitude, you guys got nothing to worry about, man. It's all storyline. Throwback to 1995, Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels. Furious Nation with a $4.99 super chat. In your opinion, what are your thoughts on the SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 soundtrack? I'd have to actually go back and... Whatever it is, bro, it's better than whatever the 2K series has for soundtracks. The 2K soundtracks are fucking awful. They are just so awful. At least back then, they had some rawness to them. When I think of pro wrestling, I like my music loud, heavy, and fast. I need something that's raw to go with the action, you know? Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you, man. We're about to get out of here. Wednesday, Jesse and I will be live for AEW Dynamite. Big show, man. It's the fallout. What is going to happen now on the road to Double or Nothing? We will find out tomorrow night, man. Should be a good show. Jesse and I will be in the venue. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know Tuesdays are a slow night. I know not everybody cares about NXT, and everybody's like, oh my God, NXT sucks, but it's a special show. It was a roadblock. I'll find myself on here probably again with the next special event. We'll see what happens, but I appreciate you guys for hanging out tonight for the little time that we had here. Israel with 21 months. I'm surprised you went live for NXT. I'm also surprised they kept Dragon Lee's name and didn't change it. Yes, I'm surprised I'm here as well. Anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Stay safe. Enjoy your evenings. Jesse and I will be in the venue tomorrow night for AEW Dynamite right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.